everybody, Diana here. Oh, hang on. Right off the bat, my phone starts going because it was telling me that we are live for our February Block of the Month review and Q&A. I'm so excited to have you all with us. There we go. That should all be turned off now. All righty, we're good to go. Hi, everybody. Diana here at So Uncommon. Welcome to the February Block of the Month review and Q&A. Actually, we're having a demo today, too, so score, that's more, right? So please go ahead and start checking in. Let us know who you are and where you're from, because we love hearing from you all so much. Can you believe it is the last Sunday of the second month of the year already? I'm sorry, it is almost 60 degrees here today in my part of Illinois, which is northeastern Illinois. Incredibly warm for this time of year, for sure. We are typically, a typical winter at this time of the year, we would still be under at least a few inches of snow. We've had like no snow all year long, which makes me miserable because I love snow. But it's a beautiful sunny day out today. I hope it is nice where you are. I know some folks are getting some bad weather, so stay safe, everybody. We're just going to talk here for a little bit till we see some folks start to check in, because I know it can take a couple of minutes. So let's just talk for a moment about this month's star. It's the crossover star. That's what we did in February. And I think you're going to love the block for March, which I'll show you towards the end, because again, we're kind of kicking it up a notch. We're adding some new pieces, some new types of individual blocks that we've not done before. So in this month, we did the diamond in a square, and we did the modified half square triangle. Oh, look, I got my finger to point right to it. And then, of course, we did the half square triangle, which we did in January, and everybody's a pro at that, right? So just let us know when you popped in, type in, say hello, let us know where you're from. We'd love to hear from you all. I'm going to check to make sure everything's working. I'm going to look over here on the Facebook page, make sure everything's going okay over there. There we go. Okay. All righty, good. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started here then. Welcome, everybody. Don't be shy, please. Today is the live, and it is the Q&A. So when we get to it in a little while, we'll be sure to have your questions. So today is going to run a little bit like this. We're going to have a giveaway for 2 lucky winners, but you have to be here and you have to say something in the comments so that your name can be in the random draw scenario, the generator. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. At least clock in, let us know where you are from, and give us your name and give us a shout out and a hey, anything like that. Get my everything. Oh, you'll soon know why my day is crazy today. Okay, we're looking good. But to be in the giveaway, I got to have some folks signing in and saying hello. Okay, we'll do that at the end of today. I've got the little giveaways right over here. I'll show everybody. Normally, today is the day I show you the project for the end of the month, which would be the project with our crossover star. Do you see that one right over there? That's part of your project for the month. And all of this is part of your project for the month. But yesterday was one of those days that turned into a disaster. Hi, Rosie. How are you? From Northern Illinois. So, Rosie, I'm in kind of Northern Illinois as well, Northeastern. Are you having a great day today? Is it beautiful and sunny? It's almost 60 degrees where I'm at, isn't that an incredibly warm day for us in February? At least I know it is for us. So welcome in, Rosie. Thanks so much for joining us. So as I was saying, yesterday was a disaster. Seriously. I got up early. I went for a run. Dave and I had breakfast together. You're near Gurnee. Okay. I have to, when I see something come in, I have to stop and notice. You're from near Gurnee. I know Gurnee very well. Yeah, great part of the state for sure. But Dave and I got up. I went for a run. He went for a swim. We had breakfast, and then I got like straight to work. Had stuff I had to do. And I made a big mistake because I created everything we needed that I'm going to show you in the demo today, because today's demo was going to be your bonus video on Wednesday this week. But that's okay, because now there's going to be an additional bonus video this week. So can't beat that, right? Two for one kind of a thing. So by the time I got ready to start finishing up the project for the month with our crossover star, my sewing machine decided it didn't want to play anymore. It just stopped. So, a couple weeks ago, there was problems with the embroidery machine. Yesterday, it was my sewing machine. 4 hours later, I got it to work. And by that time, it was late at night. I was frustrated. I was a little bit angry. And, I can get angry at equipment. I don't get angry at people because, we all do things. It's the way life is. But I get angry at equipment sometimes. And I was a little bit angry at my sewing machine. So at that point, I was about ready to send out a notice saying, tomorrow's canceled. We'll do it later in the week. But I don't want to do that because this is our time to get together live. And I like meeting you all so very much. And we have so much fun talking about all of the stuff that we're doing. So I thought, well, you know what? You've already got everything prepped for the Wednesday bonus video. The pattern's ready. The video for the how-to is ready. Why don't you also demo it in the Q&A? So today we're going to have a Q&A demo of a brand new block, which is just kind of a fun block that we can use when we're trying to get rid of scraps or leftover 2.5-inch strips or jelly roll strips. It'll work perfect for that. So we're going to do that demonstration today. Plus, I have questions that have been sent in from some of our lovely viewers this week, and we'll be going over those. We'll also be going over and doing the giveaway at the end, okay? So why don't we get started with the demo? Would you like to do that? That sounds good to me too. Let me switch my camera. So believe it or not, none of the technical difficulty had anything to do with computers. In fact, the whole technical thing with the computer turned out really good because I got it fixed. That was a lot smoother transition, wasn't it, to the camera than it has been in the past? Okay, so this is the demo block we're going to do. We're going to learn how to string piece on our embroidery machine. I know we all have probably buckets or bags or a bin left over of scraps. And I know that when we use our jelly rolls or our 2.5-inch strip rolls, we always have something left over, right? Always. And so today we are going to strip piece with leftover jelly roll strips, but you can also do this with your scrap fabric. And as you can see here, if you end up doing corners, and when I digitized this square for us, I specifically, instead of doing another short row here and a short row here and making it short all the way out, I left us some pretty good triangles on the end, because look what happens when we put those triangles together. When we do today's, it'll go here. You've got a nice little diamond and a square that comes together there, kind of a secondary design shape that ends up in your pattern. I love that. And it kind of looks like a radiating diamond with all the little squares, right? So I love that. Or you could just be really scrappy with your corners, not even pay attention how you put them together, and end up with a really scrappy centerpiece here, diamond in a square. Or you could put them together. Let's see, I think I can use this one and this one. This one would be the other one. And if we did another blue one here, that kind of has that envelope look to it. So you can play around with this. If you're someone that likes to do jigsaw puzzles, you're going to love this because it's kind of what it's like. And today we're going to talk about using a completely different stabilizer than we have used in the past as well for this. So all I have here are some pieces of leftover jelly roll that I have ready to go. You're going to need your seam roller and your glue stick. Now, normally I say these are really optional, right? But today I'm going to tell you that you really do need these when you're doing string piecing on your embroidery machine, because we're dealing with these really small pieces, and it's really helpful to get these kind of flat and laying down when we're stitching them. So for this one, I'm going to say get those ready. So remember, with glue stick, any fabric glue stick or anything that says non-toxic, so that we know that it's washable and isn't going to stay in the fabric and eventually cause little holes in our fabric. And instead of going over to our pressing stations, a nice little seam roller does the trick. As always, a good pair of fabric snips. And here's something. A water pen. Interesting. Now, you don't necessarily need this, but you will if you use today's trick on stabilizer. I'm just trying to fix that camera. It got bumped somehow. So a water pen. I'll show you what that's for a little bit later. And then you might want to have some embroidery tape. Of course, a pair of tweezers. That is always helpful as well. Alrighty. So I am going to take us out of there and take us over to our machine camera. Here we are. Okay, so here I have already started my square so that you can see the boundary line. Remember, the boundary line just tells us actually what shape and dimension our block is going to be. These blocks are all going to be 5 by 5 inch finished blocks. Now, normally, you all know I've talked about this before. I piece with this beautiful dove gray, but so that you can see it, we're going to piece with a black today. And as you're coming in, please say hello and tell us where you're from, at least so you can be entered into today's drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out the second step, which is the placement line for your first piece of fabric. Now, on these pieces of fabric, I haven't even pressed them yet. Now, if they were super wrinkly, of course I would. But in the end, all of this kind of gets taken care of. So I'm not even going to worry about it. Hang on just a second. I am going to come back in. I'm going to take this camera out. Now we'll go back. There we go. That should be better. There. Now you're not seeing just the desktop. Okay, so this is our placement line. Now I'm going to place the fabric right on top of it. Because remember, with piecing in the hoop, your first fabric's always right side up, right? That's right. So we're going to stitch that. And with this, you do have to do some trimming. Trimming wouldn't be necessary if you measured out your fabrics and stuff. So if I were doing this with just scraps that I pulled out of my scrap bin and it wasn't already pre-cut to this 2.5 inches, I would probably cut them about 1.5 inches. I think that would work well. All right, so I'm going to take this out and I'll move the camera down so you can see. And we're going to trim this out. I don't worry about trimming out here because I'm going to need that so I can trim up to my 1/4 inch seam allowance when I'm done. Now, another pair of snips, I'm just using my fabric snips here, but another pair of scissors that you could use are duck bills because they'll lay right in there and trim that off. Again, unlike with regular embroidery, don't trim right up to the line. Leave yourself about 1/8 to 1/4 inch of fabric. I think you'll be happier with that. It leaves you with a better seam in the end. So I'm just trimming this away. There we go. And I don't care if it's not straight when I'm trimming it like that. It's not going to be a problem. So now I'm going to take my second piece of fabric and I'm going to lay it on top. Remember, all other pieces of fabric after the first what are laid right side down. You got that. So I'm going to lay this here and I'm going to lay it so I see just a little bit of my bottom fabric. I'm going to put it back under my, oh, what did I just do? I hit something with my elbow. Hang on, let me go back. That scared me. There's that piece. There's that one. There we go. Now where my elbow accidentally hit my screen. This screen on this Dream Machine is very, very sensitive, very touchy. Alrighty, we're going to stitch this out. Now let's talk about this. This fabric strip I'm using right here is actually very directional. I don't worry about directional fabric when I'm string piecing because over a quilt or a wall hanging that is done scrappy, you won't notice direction on fabric. So I just don't worry about it at all. Now I'm going to put my little swipe of glue stick, and I'm going to flip, and I'm going to give a little seam press. There we go, and we'll stitch out our next piece. Hello to anyone who's coming in. I can't see all of my comments and stuff at the moment while I've got this camera up, so I will check and say hello to you all when we come back after our demo. So we're going to stitch that out. That was the flip and stitch again part. Now I'm going to do my trimming. And from this point on, I just have to trim the one side. It's just that first piece you trim both sides. This happens to be fabric left over from a jelly roll that I've had for quite some time, but I've been in love with it forever. It has a very East Indian feel to it from fabrics I've seen there. Homespun fabrics and all. I really love it. I keep forgetting to put that up. There we go. So I love how this looks. It's a super soft cotton fabric. It is not a batik. It is a soft cotton, but I love the print. And I actually have one or two other full jelly rolls, and I'm going to see if I can't make myself a nice size little throw quilt or something with this fabric done in this scrappy way. Now, I will tell you that what was I just about to say? Oh, you can do these with non-scrappy fabric. If you have a design set that you love of fabric, use it. I would still do it random and not so planned because that's the beauty of doing this. String piecing actually started, from what we know, back in the 20s and 30s. And why? And that's because we were coming out of the Depression in this country, and everybody had that waste not, want not kind of a mindset. And because of that, oops, hang on, I just dropped my piece of fabric. Let's see if I have another piece I can just grab over here out of my bin. There we go. I'll cut it. So they had that waste not, want not idea. And so because they didn't have fabrics the way we have them today, they just used everything they had. We're going to lay this. Now, this is going to do our corner. A 2.5 inch strip will cover that corner with no problems at all. And so that's where the idea of string piecing came, or at least that's the story on the street. That's what I hear and read. If you know more about string piecing, let us know. Now, once we flipped and stitched this piece, it is the last piece on the bottom half of our block. And so see how easily and quickly this went? I'll flip that. And see how your seam roller just kind of really helps lay that flat, and you can really get that glue to stick. I always keep my hand there just as a little insurance. I don't trust technology not to do something I don't want it to do, but now I don't need to trim this at all because I'll trim that at the very end when I trim up my block and take it out of the hoop. Now it's moved me right up to my top again, because now we're going to do this upper half. Now look, I've grabbed the same fabric that I just used. Is that a problem? No, of course not, because it's going to be up here. It would come in a, you know, as another scrappy piece. It's not a problem whatsoever. So we'll lay that down and stitch that out. So have any of you inherited a piece of scrappy quilting from a mother or a grandmother? If so, let us know. I'd love to see pictures. In fact, don't let me forget, I've got a picture to show you from somebody's crossover star that I want to share. And someone else sent me a picture as well, and I'll be doggoned if I can find it now. So if I don't show yours today, send it to me again, and I will show it next time. Because I've looked and looked and looked for that other one that got sent to me, and I can't seem to find it. It's all part of yesterday. Yesterday was just not a friendly day for me. At least I got this part done for us, but from about 2 o'clock onwards, it was not a friendly day in my sewing room. Okay, I'm going to take this out. We will trim this one up a little bit, because I love to see older quilts, because I do refurbish and make older quilts archivally safe and all for folks. I love seeing older quilts, and of course all of my grandmother's quilts, all the ones that she's had in shows and won awards for and stuff. I love showing them and watching them and using them still, for sure. Alrighty, we're going to lay this piece down now. And if you have solids or fabric for infants and you don't want it to be in a regular quilt, if you've got a little one, or you know someone who's going to have a little one, make them a strip quilt like this, a string quilt, because it can be really fun with little ones to help them learn colors. And if you use fabrics that have lots of fun shapes, they can learn those things as well. I'm always thinking about stuff like that. And that would be really fun. So after this piece, we have one more piece, and we're done stitching this block. Isn't this simple and easy? And it just comes along really quickly. There we go. We're just going to take it out one more time here, and we will trim this away. And so here's my tip when I string piece. I don't sit down and just string piece and string piece and string piece until I get a quilt done. My string piece quilts can take years to make, unless I set out to do one specifically like this for someone. And that is because when I'm done with the jelly roll, or when I'm done with fabric and I know I have enough to use in a string piece block, then that day or the next day, I'll sit down and use that fabric and make myself up a bunch of blocks. And then I keep blocks in a plastic art bin that kind of is cracked open so they aerate. And then when I get enough, I sew them together and then quilt them and bind them and have a quilt. So I don't set out to always make them unless I'm asked to make them for someone, or, you know, someone's having a baby that I'm going to make a quilt for, and they're like, oh, will you make me a string piece quilt? And then I do that. So back to children. These make great quilts for little kids to like carry around with them and all for their whoobies. All right, so we are at the stage now where we have stitched everything out, but like we do at the end of all of our blocks, we've got one more stitch out all the way around to get all of our little pieces connected. Well, you better believe these little weird ends are going to cause problems with our embroidery foot. But remember, I think I showed you all this either last time or in a recent video. Just take your favorite embroidery tape. Like I've always said before, whatever tape you use, make sure it's either made for fabric or is low tack or for sensitive skin if you're using a medical tape. Because just like with your glue stick, the glue in those are not going to cause problems with your quilts over time. I think of all that blue painter's tape we used to use and how bad that was, because that really isn't a low tack tape. They do make painter's tapes that are low tack, and those work fine. Frog tape has one for, if you're looking in the painter's tape, look for one that says for fine finishes, for ceramics, things like that, or low tack. That'll work. So you can see I'm not having to worry about those little flippy edges at all. And that's going to be done. And now I'm going to flip it back over. And we'll go back to our other camera here. Alrighty, so I've got my block done, and I'm going to go ahead and take it out of my hoop. Then we'll take out that tape. And, you know, with a good tape, it should come out really easily. We'll set our hoop to the side. Now I'm just going to take and get in here and peel this away. But even though it's not hurting the fabric, be careful, because remember, we're dealing with just run stitches and we don't want to pull those up and cause problems with them. That's not good at all. Don't ever have to want to redo something that we've already done, right? Okay, that piece will come out then. Just getting this out. Now, I'm trying to wonder if anybody has noticed anything that they're seeing on this scenario yet. You noticed what stabilizer I've used? Can you tell by the screen? Take a guess. Let me hear in the comments, what stabilizer do you think I just used to do this block? And if you got little pieces in there, just maybe take your tweezers, get under it, and it'll come out. So anybody, water soluble? Yeah, Rosie, you are exactly right, my friend. It is water soluble. It's the same water soluble we use when we do freestanding lace or any other project that calls for a water soluble stabilizer. It's that same kind of a non-woven water soluble. Not the clear topper stuff. Don't use that. But this worked great. And I'm going to show you why this may very quickly become my favorite. Ooh, I've got tape all over my hands now. Let me get that off. Alrighty, away with you. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and trim it up. And remember, we use our 1/4 inch mark on our ruler, and we line that up with the stitched line, and we just trim around and get rid of these edges. And then we have our line for stitching, our perfect 1/4 inch. Isn't it nice to know that you don't have to have a 1/4 inch foot to sew these together or anything like that, because you have this line that is the perfect mark. And to be honest, decades ago when we did all of our quilting and sewing by hand, our stitch lines like this that we did by hand, those were our guides for other lines. So this isn't a new idea, really. It's something we did for ages. Alrighty, let's get that put away. Now let's bring our other 3 in here, and I'll show you what happens if you have corners that are the same. I just think that's so fun. Isn't that fun looking? I love that. It looks like it's all radiating out from that on point diamond in the square. I think that's very cool. Or like we said before, flip them around and make them all different. Now, if you did this, you kind of have that bow tie look. So let's see here. Let's put this one here because those two are the same. Now you get a really fun idea. You get kind of a bow tie this way and a bow tie that way, almost an open present look. That's kind of fun. So you can really play with these. Let's do this one. Back is the yellow. That kind of has that envelope look, like you were going to peel that up and do an envelope. But isn't that fun? I love that. Let us know what you think about that in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Now, the reason the water soluble, let me tell you, and this is where that water pen comes in. So this block I did the other day, I did on tearaway stabilizer because I get asked, I have my coffee with me today. Need to take a drink there. I hope you all brought your own favorite beverage. This is why I don't like tearaway, because it's hard to get it out of these seams without ripping your seams, without ripping those run stitches. And there's always little bits that are going to be left in there. Now, if it's the only stabilizer you have, you can use it, but you're going to spend a lot of time fixing that up a little bit if you want to get it out of there. And of course, all of these are done with water soluble, aren't they? Okay. If you do it with your, here we go, we'll show you in here, with your no-show mesh, that stays in, which is also fine. But I thought, well, what's the other most popular stabilizer we have? It's water soluble. So it looks like that on the back. Here is our water pen. Now, when you buy these, you can buy just regular water pens in the art department at your craft stores. This is that one that you get at fabric stores that has the little bottle of softener with it. Don't use the softener for this. Just use either tap water if you have good tap water, or a little bit of bottled water. Okay. And then all I do is I just give a very gentle squeeze, and I just run it down my seams. And I do that all the way around. And as this sits, and while I'm doing it all, it loosens up, right? Water will start to dissolve that. And this is the one. Yep. So on this one, I've torn away this one and this one here. And this one I was starting to. It's re-dried. So let's just get in there and get that wet. And we can pull that off. And that's very gentle on our seams. And here's the other thing, is that when we go to wash this, if there's anything left over in there, it'll wash away. Now you're saying, oh, but your seams are wet, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they are. But the next thing I'm going to do is take this over and press them. So that's not a problem at all, because once I press them, they'll dry. And remember, I only press on that linen to silk setting on my iron. I don't go super hot. And once this is out of here, it's just like pressing any other piece of fabric when you're doing your cotton, and you're not going to worry about anything shrinking or wrinkling or anything like that. So I'm going to continue to use this for a while and see what I think. The stabilizer stayed together beautifully in the stitching process. No problem at all. So I like this idea. I do. So now, if you don't have a water pen, you can use a little paintbrush if you want. You could use a Q-tip if you want. Anything like that is fine. But I liked that. Now, there's also the light muslin that we talked about back in January. That works beautifully as well. But what do you think? And I kind of like these, having them like this. You can kind of get a whole different look going on here with this as well. So what would we do here? Maybe this, and let's see, do this one up here. I mean, you could really play with these. I just love these, how you can work them out. And if you're doing all different fabrics, all different kinds of scrappy fabrics, you're going to end up with a really beautiful look. Okay, that's our demo. Now, oops, sorry. Took myself out of there for a second. Here we go. That was pretty much everything you do for a scrappy string pieced quilt block. If you want the pattern, of course, go to our sewincommon.com. You can find it over there. You get all of the instructions written. But there's the full how-to video. It's one of our Patchwork with Me videos. It just came out today. You can watch that all the way through. We don't talk about anything else, just doing that block, and it's meant to go with that pattern. So please enjoy that. Now, I want to show you a picture that came in. So let me share my screen here. One of our group members, one of our subscribers did the block of the month. Isn't it pretty? And you know what she did? She made this tiny. I bet you've all seen this kind of a hanger. I mean, pretty much any embroiderer has one for mini quilts and little banners and stuff like that. She shrunk that down in a software and she did it. So that's only 6 by 6 inches. It's a true mini quilt. And didn't it turn out beautifully? I love that. And it's perfect. She's all ready for St. Patrick's Day. So thank you so much for sending that in. And if you sent me a picture and you didn't see it today, because I know somebody did, please send it again, and my deepest apologies. I looked for a good hour and can't find where I put it. I don't know what happened to it. I do apologize. I feel bad about that. All righty. So we are through the demo, and we are ready for Q&A today. So I have several questions that got sent to me. And one of them is going to have a little demo with it. And we'll start out with that one. So if you've got questions, you can start putting them in and I'll go back and check for them. But let's start with this question here from Rosemary. Rosemary asks, how do you reduce bulk in the seams? Well, Rosemary, that's an awesome question because it's the bane of every quilter's existence. I don't care how you do your piecing. Bulk in the seams is a problem for us all. And it's just the nature of the beast because fabric gets folded and that gets thicker and all of that. However, let me bring back in this camera and we'll take Rosemary's question out for a second so you can see. I'm going to bring in this block and I'll show you the back of it. Back doesn't look too bad, right? But if you'll notice, not everything lays exactly in the same direction or is the same way. And that's because with any piecing, there is a couple of things that you have to do to make those intersections lay flat. Now, when you have a block that has one long edge and no extra fabric on there, you're going to get a really smooth seam because there's only the one piece that you're laying out. But when you get quarter square triangles or squares in a square, look at all of these intersection points that we have with these, especially this one right here in the center. And these, you've got 4 of them. That's where you get bulk. And you know what the problem is? It's those doggone little dog ears. That's what causes the problem. So right here, I will show you, let's see, where did I do it? So I could show you right here. So right here, this is one of the things I do regardless of how I quilt. I use a really good pair of serrated scissors always. I come in and I snip before I've pressed them out so they're all together. I come in and snip right down, so right at the edge, so it's the same width as the seam. But I snip down right to just above that sewn line on both sides. And then I can play with how I lay these down. So if I still want to do my seams to one side, I can do that. But at these intersections, I'm laying them out flat and that becomes less bulky. Now, there's still a tiny bit of bulk there, but it's not going to cause a problem with the quilting. However, the problem is in these little dog ears. So what do? First of all, Diana gets her magnifiers because I can't see otherwise. Here we go. See all of this bulk in here? I just take my finger and I get the top fabric out of the way. And then I come right in here. I don't clip the seam. I just clip above the seam and I clip that out of there. Throw that little piece away and then it lays much, much flatter for you. So that is one way to get the bulk out. And that's a really popular way to get the bulk out of your seams for all quilters, for all kinds of quilting. Now, there is another way I want to show you. So here we have a scrap of fabric, right? And we notice this 2.5-inch strip came pinked on both edges. And I know as quilters, we don't always like those pinked edges. They are really our friends because they have already taken, let's see if I can get that up a little higher for you. They've already taken bulk. Every valley there is bulk that is taken out of an eventual seam. So how do we get it in the places where there isn't that already done? You can get yourself pinking shears, but it's much easier to get yourself a pinking blade for your rotary cutter. You can just switch your blades out. I just keep an extra rotary blade handle, and I have a rotary blade on it. And then when I want to do my cuts, I just line up my ruler like I would always do. And with this, I'm a little careful. I kind of make sure it's sitting next to the ruler because sometimes otherwise it wants to hop up and then it can cause a problem. So I just make sure it's sitting there and I roll it across. And now I have that pinked edge. I know it's hard to see on that, isn't it? But I have that pinked edge right there. And I have a pinked edge right there. So when things get sewn together, that's taking bulk out of the seams. So when I remember to be good, sometimes I cut all of my fabrics. If I'm doing, like when I cut my squares, I'll tell you a lot of the time in the patterns to take, let's see, let's take a 3-inch square. Well, it's not quite a square. It's an old blade, so I knew it wasn't going to grab every little bit. There we go. There we go. So if I have a piece like this, and now I want to square it up, and I know it's 2.5 inches. So we're going to get right there, and I'm going to roll that across. Let me do it one more time. I ordered new blades, but they're not here yet. They're supposed to be here tomorrow, of course. So I have pinked edges all the way around now. That's reducing some bulk all the way around my piece when I go to sew it together. That can be helpful. It doesn't take the place for what you do on the back with your seams when they come together, but it will reduce some of that bulk so that you don't have so much that you need to take out. Now, do I take that bulk out of every single seam? No, I do not. Absolutely, I do not. When these come together here, there's no real bulk here. I don't worry about that. I know that Rosemarie's question was, is this going to end up causing my needle to break? So here's my answer to that. I don't end up with broken needles, but you better make sure that you're using a sharp needle. And I would use at least a 7511 or an 8012 if you're worried about any bulk. But a sharp will penetrate that fabric differently and better than a ballpoint. I suspect you will get some broken needles with ballpoints because they're not really the best needle to use for quilting cottons, okay? So I hope, Rosemarie, that answered some of your questions. It's a great question, and like I said, it's what it's what we try to get rid of and work with as quilters all the time, but it is the nature of the beast because of how fabric comes together at intersections. So whether we're doing it on our embroidery machine or we're doing it on our sewing machine or by hand, you're getting that kind of a bulk. Those are the ways we take it out. If you have other ways that you take the bulk out of your seams, let us know that. We'd love to share that as well. So thank you, Rosemarie, for that question. Now, Laura asked, do I teach software lessons? So Sew in Common is my company, my business. I do all my own digitizing in several softwares that come together to make the things that I digitize for Sew in Common. But I do teach privately for software from a couple of different companies. So if you want a software lesson, please contact me privately. Let me know exactly what you want to learn because I have 15-minute lessons, 30-minute lessons, and hour long lessons. Some of the things you may want to learn may take multiple lessons. It just depends on what you want to learn and how far along you are in your own digitizing education. Okay. Digitizing is not something you learn overnight. It's taken me years to learn to digitize. And there was no class, so I've learned it on my own, but you can learn it. And I'm happy to help you, because if I had somebody to help me with lessons, I would have been thrilled about that when I was learning to digitize. So Laura, let me know exactly what you want to learn to digitize, what you already know, in a private message, a private email, and you and I can come up with something. And that goes for anybody. If you have a software you want to learn, if it's one I know and can help you with, I'm happy to do that. So thank you for that question, Laura. Now, Linda asked, Linda is fairly new to quilting. And so these are great questions, because new quilters come up with questions that we think, well, gosh, wouldn't you have known that or something? Not necessarily, because when you're new, right? So Linda asks, can I mix batiks and quilting cottons? Yes, absolutely you can. So see that star? That's all batiks. I'm doing the monthly project in batiks because I wanted to show you what batiks look like when they're quilted and pieced, because I know some folks had those questions. The one right behind me here, all quilting cottons, but I could have easily mixed and matched those fabrics if they had gone together. That's not a problem at all. Quilting cotton can feel a little thicker than some batiks. Some batiks are thinner. If that's the case, maybe you put batiks in here and there and mix and match in a different amount than you would with your quilting cottons, but they're cotton. Batik is cotton, so there's not a problem with you mixing and matching those at all. Lots of companies come up with full, beautiful size quilts that are part batik and part quilting cotton. So I'm glad that helped you, Rosie. Thank you. Thank you for that comment so much. So that's Linda's question. Linda, if you have any further questions or you want me to look at anything, send me an email with some pictures. I'd love to help you out. And then Kay asked, now Kay has been a quilter for a long time. I hope she doesn't mind my sharing. And she was already like thinking ahead. And I wasn't ready to announce this yet, but I'm going to, because Kay has asked. So I'm going to tell you. Her question is, do you sell block sets, a set of squares, a set of triangles for different size hoops, different size projects? They're coming. That's what I can tell you. They are coming. It has been something I've been working on now for a year, to get block sets where you buy a set of squares. So you might get your half square triangle in 3 or 4 sizes. You might get a modified half square triangle. You would get several squares in one package. So you would have those to do your own quilts, because a lot of times we see quilt patterns and we're like, oh, I'd really love to make that. In fact, do I have one here? Yeah. Let me just grab this one. This heart quilt. I want to make this so badly. And it is quilted and pieced traditionally, which is fine. But I would love to do it on my embroidery machine, right? And so I can do this as long as I have the base blocks. I can figure out how to make that based on what those instructions tell me. And so, yes, we are going to have squares, triangles, all of that, plus star sets, all coming out. The first set will be coming out soon, but I'm not even going to give you a date, because you don't know what might happen from day to day. It's on my schedule. All I can say, it's very soon. There will be videos for them to walk you through the piecing of general sizes in each one of the different blocks in the sets. And that way, as quilters, you can gather up those sets, and then you'll be able to make any patchwork quilt you want to make. So, and there will be sets specifically, like a mini set, which is going to be specifically for mini quilts and folks with only 4x4 hoops. And then there will be a small set for 5x7 hoops, a medium, a large, and maybe an extra large. It'll depend. Some large blocks just need to be probably no bigger than a certain size when pieced out on the embroidery machine. So we will have different sizes though. So yes, Kay, it's coming very quickly, my friend. So hang on, please. Let's see. Do I have any more questions? Was that all 4 of them? That's the 4 I have. Does anybody have any more questions? I know I had emails from folks saying they were coming with questions. If not, that's fine. Just drop a comment in when you watch this, and then you can see the answers to your questions if you already asked them, or you can ask questions in the comments or send me an email, and I'll answer those for you. So we've done we've done the demo. I've shown you the pictures. I'm just trying to make sure I've checked off everything. So what about the project of the month? That will be out for you. I finally got the machine fixed late last night, but it was too late to finish everything up. I was exhausted. So it's coming out this week, folks. Plus, since you've seen this week's bonus video, you're going to get another bonus video because I will put another one out sometime Tuesday to Thursday, that midweek time frame. I like to put out a bonus video. So it's coming. Another one is coming, and the pattern sheet for this month's project is coming, and I apologize. I am now setting myself up that project must be done by Thursday of the last week of the month. I just had a lot going on this week, and then when the machine broke, it put me in this bad space, and I don't like doing that to you all. So we are going to take steps that doesn't happen again. If I need that extra time because technological stuff happens, it'll still be done. Okay, so thank you so much for your patience on that. Now we get to talk about the new block of the month coming in March. So we're kind of on a star kick. Now this one's a little wrinkly because I didn't get time to press it, but you just saw it under the camera. It's one of many different stars that are called pinwheel stars. Do you see the pinwheel right there in the center? This is going to be another jumbo block because remember, all of these blocks are going to be done in a quilt at the end of the month. And you never know if a quilt is coming as a monthly project too. If it's coming as a monthly project, it's probably a wall hanging quilt or a lap quilt. I won't throw like a double or a queen or anything during the year at you. We'll be doing the big quilt at the end of the year. But this pinwheel star is the block for March. Now, why is this special? Because let's take you back under the camera. I can show you that more easily. Here we go. So here under the camera, what's new about this block? Okay, well, we've done our diamond in a square, but this diamond in a square is a little bit different because we're going to stitch it with one odd colored corner. Okay. But we're finally going to do the other probably most famous block in quilting besides the half square triangle, the quarter square triangle. So we're going to be doing that one this month. And last month we did a modified half square triangle. This month we're doing a double modified half square triangle. So there's half of your half square triangle. Last month, our half square was, this was solid and this was solid. But this month, you're doing like half a quarter square and another half a quarter square. So it's a double modified half square triangle. So one new block, two new blocks, an old friend block done slightly differently. That's what's going to make up this month's block of the month, which is for March, the pinwheel star. Isn't it pretty? I just love it. All springy. Certainly a great time of the year to do spring now that really at 60 degrees isn't spring here. It is here for us for sure. I can't believe my cousins out in California are having a blizzard. That's so crazy. Alrighty, are we ready for this month's giveaway? So normally I tell you that you can comment on videos throughout the month for the giveaway, but I wanted the giveaway to be live this month so that you could get it while you're here. Now, we haven't had many people check in with us. So what I'm going to do is there is going to be 2 sets of this given away. One of them, Rosie Ogg, you are going to win because you're the only person that's actually commented live. So Rosie, what I need you to do is contact me at my email, diana@sewuncommon.com, with your address. And I will send this out to you this week. And then the second giveaway is going to be chosen from any comments that I get between the end of this video and tomorrow at noon Central Time. So Monday, the 27th, Monday, the 27th at noon Central Time. So watch this, leave a comment. I don't care if you just say, hi, I'm Sue, or hi, I'm Grace, whatever, that gets you in the running. And the second winner will go to one of those folks. So do you want to see what it is? So in our inspiration week this week, which is always week 2, we talked about using prints that read as solid. You're very, very welcome, Rosie. It's my pleasure for sure. We've talked about prints that read as solid, or prints that we can use as background fabrics. So I have a little bundle of fat 8ths here that are beautiful fabrics. You can use them for piecing, you can use them for anything, but they would be fabrics that I would consider to be used as background fabrics if I needed them. So you're getting that. Plus, I went and got some Kimberbell buttons. I think these Kimberbell buttons are so stinking cute. And I got the spring ones. So you're getting a whole set of the little spring has sprung Kimberbell buttons. There's 2 little bumblebees. You get a pair of the little, I'm sorry, are those not the Morton Salt Girl boots? I love them. You're getting the little frog, Mr. Froggy. Do you know the song Froggy Went a Courtin'? Yeah, that's what I think of. 2 beautiful flowers and a little water can with flowers coming out of it. So that is the giveaway. One of these sets is going to Rosie because Rosie was brave and commented this week. Thank you so much, Rosie. And then I have another set just like it in my little giveaway bag here. And that will go to a random winner from someone that comments in the comments of this specific video between now and 12 noon Central Standard Time tomorrow, the 27th of February. All right, friends. February is over. We're on to March. Your project is coming as soon as I can. I'm going to be finishing it up tomorrow, so I should be able to get it out to you probably no later than Wednesday, but probably on Tuesday for sure. But March's Pinwheel Star is coming, and February is over. And it looks like in our part of the country, March is coming in like a lamb. So we like that for sure. Any other? Okay, we've got all of our comments, all of our questions answered. It's my pleasure to be with you all. I love having you all with me every Sunday, even though our Sundays aren't live until the end of the month. I see those of you that watch. I see those of you that comment. And I'm so glad that it has been helpful for you all. It is my great pleasure to stitch with you on our embroidery machines, making beautiful quilts. I think of my grandmother, who was an award-winning, decades-long quilter. All the trouble she had teaching her little left-handed granddaughter how to quilt by hand over 50-some years ago. And I think she would be pretty thrilled that we're all doing it on our embroidery machines now. So until next time, you know what's coming, right? You know what's coming. I want you all to go out there and sew life beautiful. Make your world beautiful with all of those quilts. Until next week. Bye, everybody. See you soon.